Welcome to In Conversation. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Joining me for this episode of In Conversation at the far end of the table is the lovely Gail Bates. Beside her, to her right, is Joanne Schroeder, the Executive Director of the Child Development Association in the Comox Valley. And beside me, to my left, is April Statz, who runs the TAP program, the Autism program at the Child Development Association. And Gail is longtime host of the Telethon. So, very long, years and years and years, decades actually. But before we get to the Telethon, which is coming up on November 6th, we are going to talk a little bit about the history. So, Joanne, let's talk about how many, it's been 40, you're in your 42nd year of services, and it's coming up on the 41st Telethon. But in those 42 years, let's do an overview of how the Child Development Association came to be what it is today.
Wow. I'll try to do 42 years in 42 seconds.
There you go.
We're watching.
Well, the Child Development Association started in Cumberland in 1974. It really emerged from a group of parents primarily with kids who had cerebral palsy initially, wanting to form into an association that they could get some specialized services to support their children. And then very quickly after they opened in Cumberland, there were other kids and other families that also wanted to access those specialized services. So joined in, and there was a preschool, there were some infant development programs, some speech therapy in the early days.
Okay.
And
I had no idea it was so grassroots.
yes,
parents too.
yes, originally it was.
I really didn't know that. At the beginning it was.
Yeah, so it's, and then they decided to move into Courtenay. It kind of coincided with time in services for people with disabilities and children too, that we were thinking more about community inclusion. So having children segregated out in Cumberland wasn't the direction that the agency was going. So so we moved into Courtenay, and over those 40 years we've now grown to a staff of nearly 70 people.
Wow. Cool.
A whole bunch of different programs really servicing children from birth, and we also have some young adults who have been with us receiving services for many years. So, when we celebrated our 40th anniversary a couple of years ago, we were speculating that probably we touched the lives of over 25,000 families in the Comox Valley over that time.
That's extraordinary.
So it is, yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of a newbie on the block. I've only been in this position for a couple of years.
Right.
So when I reflect on it, it seems pretty amazing to me.
Now, well, you've only been with the Child Development Association for a couple of years. You've been in the industry, more or less, for a very, very long time. In that time frame, what have you seen change, and how is that now impacting the Child Development Association?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that has changed quite a bit is, sort of what children with special needs look like, and the kinds of kids that many of us think of that, maybe have mobility issues, maybe have diagnoses like Down syndrome, or even those, original group of kids that had cerebral palsy, kids that have more complex medical needs. They're becoming sort of less represented in the population of children with special needs for a whole host of reasons. Primarily just that medical interventions are always getting better. And cerebral palsy is a really good example, because that is primarily caused at the time of birthing. And as birthing interventions have improved, the incidence of cerebral palsy has gone down. But what's happened at the same time that those sort of more visible, if you like, special needs have become less apparent, the invisible disabilities have become more and more. So we have lots more children and young people who, you wouldn't think of them as special needs, particularly if you saw them on the street, but they have behavioral issues or mental health issues, maybe been diagnosed with autism. So that's been certainly the biggest trend over the last 10 or 15 years.
And depending on where they would fall on the spectrum of autism, it's something that you may recognize immediately or not realize right away, because the spectrum is so far-reaching.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, April's really the one to tell you a little bit more about that. But I always like the saying that if you've seen one kid with autism, you've seen one kid with autism, because they're so different.
Right. Now, April, how many years have you been working in the autism world, really?
Oh, we were discussing that driving here, my varied career getting here. Probably over 16 about now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that 16 years, how have you seen that change?
Well, for me in particular, just the diagnostic process specifically, I mean, we've had kids as young as 2 years old come to us, right? So,
Wow.
and that's really good news
Okay.
for those families.
Because
in
for a
terms of
long
that.
time, they weren't being diagnosed that early.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the earlier they can catch it, the better chance the child has, right?
Right.
Okay.
The earlier the intervention,
Right.
right. The sooner we can start on those strategies and teaching the family how to, deal with those strategies and give them the tools they need to succeed.
Now, in talking about how many years the Child Development Association has been in existence, one of the things you touched on was the number of children you've helped, but it's not just the child. Like right now, it's near almost 900 children in a year that come through the doors, but it also includes their whole family, correct?
That's right. That's right. And we really value, and I think all of us believe very passionately at the Child Development Association about the importance of families as being the people who really need to be supported, but also need to be respected, that they're the experts for their children. And we talk about ourselves as being family-centered, and we take that very seriously, because to just help a child in isolation of their family, at the same time, you won't have the same impact.
Right.
So,
It's more holistic,
That's
that
right.
support. It's not just you go to the center on those hours. It's here's how we're all.
Well, and for my program alone,
Exactly. Yeah.
we don't want to hear, and we do sometimes that, the child does that with you. We don't want the child just to do that with us,
Right.
right? We want the child to be successful and be able to take that to other people and to other environments. And more importantly, we want the child to be able to do that at home.
Right. Because the majority of the time is spent at home. And if so, is there a time where you're interacting with the parents and teaching them how to interact with the child in the same way you're teaching the child the interaction?
We try.
Okay.
I would say it's one of my biggest goals, has been for several years, is to
Okay.
increase that. We're always looking for different ways to be innovative in that way.
Okay.
It's really tough. We have limited time and limited resources for that. So, but the key is we do need to find more time for that,
Okay.
to pass that along to families.
And how do you find, I guess that's the trick right across the board with all of the specialties that the Child Development Association offers, is finding all the time you need to handle everything A to Z. And as the executive director, is that your biggest challenge?
For sure. I
Is
mean,
it?
it's really matching the resources available to the need for the services, and we can never quite keep up with that. Although I think the staff does an amazing job, and the quality of services that people receive when they come to the Child Development Association is very high. But we sometimes feel like we're a little bit like those Energizer bunnies going up the escalator that's coming down the wrong way or something like that. That it's hard to keep up with the need. But we do know for sure that providing that support to parents is going to really have the most impact for children. It's tough to be a parent. It's tough to be a parent of any kid, and to be parenting when you have a child that has some extra needs is doubly tough. And so trying to find ways that not only that we find the time, but that we can create an environment where they can find the time too,
Right.
to really engage in the work.
Now, are you able to help everybody as they come, or is there wait lists in place?
There are some wait lists, although
Okay.
it's certainly something we're thinking about all the time,
Mm-hmm.
to try to minimize those. But for some of our therapies, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy primarily, we do have kids waiting. And there's nothing more heartbreaking than, you know, when a family has come into our organization and, you know, reached out for service, and we say, we really want to help you, but, you know, come back in 6 months. So that's what we
That must
really,
be so tough.
yeah, I can't imagine. And we, you know, we do all kinds of things to try to give them information, keep in
Right.
contact with them through that waiting period.
Okay.
And we're chipping away at reducing that. But again, it
Okay.
comes back to your point that we just don't quite have enough resources to meet the demand for the services.
Now, is that because there's a shortfall on the government side, like they're not able to provide the resources you need, or is that where the shortfall is, or is it systemic, or is it like where is the?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a bit of both. There hasn't been an increase in funding for these kinds of services for many, many years. So,
My goodness.
yeah.
But
so,
why has there not been an increase when the demand has increased probably almost tenfold in a decade?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and certainly for those of us who are day to day, you know, meeting with these families and seeing their needs. It's
Okay.
yeah, our reaction is just that. What the heck? We need more money. We also know that, you know, governments have a lot of demands and a lot of things to balance, and so I don't pretend to be able to walk in their shoes, but it has been tough to you know, continue to meet the demand when there hasn't been additional investment in children and youth with special needs.
I mean, we're lucky in
Right
in
to
one
your
way.
elected official.
We're lucky in that we do have, you know, a group of our coworkers, and that a group of people that are actively trying to work within what we have and be creative and find those ways. But
Right.
it's challenging.
Has there always been a shortfall in funding? Like, are you always feeling like you're trying to catch up? You've been in the industry for a few decades, so has it always been like that?
I would say so. I don't
Yeah.
think that the many people that are in the, you know, services that are trying to support children and families with any kind of extra needs would say that there's ever been a excess of funding. But because there hasn't been, you know, increases in the last few years, it maybe feels a bit more of a squeeze now.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Because the levels of children being diagnosed with autism especially have really risen. And of course the government is going to be aware of that. So why are they not coming forward with a little bit more to support the rise?
It's a tough question, and I mean, I guess the only answer is that they have a lot of competing priorities, and it's hard to try to find that funding. You know, there's always choices to be made. You know, we have lots of costs in our healthcare and our education system, and all of those things. So, and yeah, I think that's the only thing to say. But yeah, if we could have more resources, and government would see that, you know, supporting children with special needs in their earliest years, you know, will save so much down the road. So,
Absolutely.
you know, it's kind of I think it used to be, I want to say it was like a oil filter ad that they used to have on the hockey games, you know, pay me now or pay me later.
Yes.
It really is that. So that's
Okay.
really the message that we're trying to get out when we have a chance to talk to people who, you know, manage funding, is the early intervention will really make a difference, and it'll save
the
lots of
long
money
run.
in the long
Yeah.
run.
Now, a few years ago, I think it's 2 years ago now, you opened a new sensory room specifically for the autism program. And that was a result of local support and local funding that you received from within the community of the Comox Valley and beyond. How big of an impact has having that room made in your program?
Oh, for our program, it's huge. I can think of 2 children in particular within our own program who we kind of call the hummingbirds, right? They never stop. They're always moving. We actually have pictures of them in the sensory room completely still. And we're talking even in a chair, their bodies are always in motion of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
In the sensory room, they're completely still. It's
Wow.
really an interesting thing to see. Yeah.
Wow. Now, what is, as somebody who's leading this program, what's your favorite thing about having the sensory room? And maybe you could explain to the audience what the sensory room is.
Ooh. The sensory room, I actually encourage everybody to come see it. It is, you just have to have a little in-structure course in it, and you can actually use it. What I love about our sensory room is that it is open to the community. So the school district uses it. We have parents that take the little course, and they come in on their own time and take their children into it. So I think that's my favorite thing, is that we're giving back to the community too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, for the people who have not had the chance to see it or have seen any of the videos that we've done there, which you can find on YouTube under Shaw TV North Island, describe some of the items that are in there that have that calming effect.
I think the favorite thing for most of the kids are the bubble tubes. I know
Okay.
it's maybe my favorite.
I
but
do.
The bubble tubes are just great, and they have different colors that go through them, and they've got this great computer system where you can program it and have it turn different colors. There's also a cube in there that you can turn on, and when you turn it, it'll change the colors too. Everything's kind of interconnected. I'm not very electronic, so I'm sorry about that. But most of my staff know how to use the electronics, and they're not necessarily me. There's great little vibrating things on the wall that vibrate at different frequencies, and
Oh.
so that they can lean on and feel
Oh, cool.
that.
And then
Yeah.
they would feel the vibration, and that would, and all of these things help to calm them
Yeah.
and help them be still. Wow, that's really, really cool.
Again, depending on the child, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and I think it's great that you open it up to the community to use. I mean, that's extraordinary,
Yeah.
extraordinary. So the success of having this room came directly from funding from the Telethon.
It did. Yes.
So the Telethon is coming up on November the 6th. And Gail, you're going to host again this year.
Well, I'm one of four. I'm part of a team. Well, actually, one of four MCs, but one of, I don't know, cast of thousands that puts the telethon on. So, although you said I've been doing it for so long, I'm really feeling I need a cane. But I am thrilled to have been involved over the last several years. So it's pretty awesome. So this is great. This is why we're raising money. This is what we've been hearing. The telethon is the one big fundraiser for the Child Development Association. And it's not, well, maybe that's, you would argue maybe, it's not so much about the money. Well, no, you wouldn't. It's not so much about, well, why don't I let you have your own voice? It's not, the money is important. We've heard about the need and the shortfall in funding and how the need is ever increasing. But this is an opportunity. You know that saying about it takes a village? Mm-hmm. This is when you feel the village. Mm-hmm. Because the people in the background, these people have been planning this year's telethon starting last year. Seriously, they have one wind-up beer, that's it, then they're going on to the next telethon. The people who are, like our cameraman here today, people who come from businesses and organizations or by themselves, and so they support it. And if you can't sing or you can't dance, you can come and support them by being in our community theater. See, there's that community again. Be in our community theater. It's just down the street from the Child Development Association offices and building, but people sing and dance and perform, and we are there to support them. And it's a fundraiser. So what that means is, if you understand the need in the community, and you said 25,000 families, does that mean that you have, maybe somebody in your Rotary Club has benefited from the Child Development Association? I'd say yes. If you belong to a soccer team or a swim team, or pretty much if you do anything in this valley at all, you know somebody who has benefited from that. And that makes us a way better community. Mm-hmm. So the feeling at the telethon is live performance. We have people
at the Sid
calling
Williams
in.
Theater.
Our community theater
It's
right there,
just-
it's live.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
It is amazing.
And people phone in with pledges. You can come down. Please bring your money. If you'd like to come and come to the telethon, that's fabulous. On the 6th, starting at noon, all live performances. But you can
And
also
very
phone
comfy
in.
seats, very
It is.
comfortable
And we have a
seats.
cat. We have a cat who has been challenging other cats. He's got his own bank account. I don't understand that. Maybe he's got an iris scanner. I don't know. His name's Dickens, and he has been challenging other cats. We've had grandmothers saying, I have $10 that I would like to donate to the Child Development Association. And then they challenge someone else who's a quilter or someone who has a dog or something like that. Then the communities all come together, and one of my favorites is little kids calling in and saying, I have $2.80. And you know what? $2.80 added to that other $10 to all of those other numbers came up with, what did we?
Right around 90,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It adds up. It absolutely adds
It
up, and
surely
it's
does.
so important. And you know what? It
Every penny
is.
appreciated.
Yes,
It really
very
is.
much so. And you cannot oversell how much fun it is to be in that theater on the day, because there is nothing like a live television production when you know whatever you say and do is going out and you cannot take anything back. So the spontaneity that happens between the four MCs, and then I'm fortunate enough to be out in the lobby with the silent auction, and they're throwing to me and I'm throwing back to them, and we're joshing back and forth and seeing who's wearing what. And the silent auction items, do you know how many there are this year, Gail? 32. 32 silent auction items. That's the most we've ever had.
And we might still get a couple more.
All
So
right.
we might get up to 35.
Wow, it's amazing. So
It's
so
a
much
feeling.
fun.
It's the feeling of live TV, but it's also the feeling of we're all there for the same reason.
Yes.
The people who are on the telephone tables, the people who are performing, the people who are donating silent auction items, the people that are phoning in, all of us. We had people. It's being streamed. You'll be able to watch it on Shaw's YouTube channel. People somebody sent in a pledge, watching you from the Cook Islands and sending a donation. You know, we've been involved in the telethon in the past where, you know, here we are in the frozen north, wishing we could be there and sending you. So it brings us together on all levels, and everybody who's there is there for the same reason, not for self-aggrandizement, not for anything but knowing. And Edwin Grieve wrote a song that we sing at the end, and you'll be able to sing along with us, and the chorus of it goes, we'll do it for the kids. And that's the whole thing. The whole thing is for kids.
It is.
And we all started as one. Well, most of us did.
Well, and what's great about being in the theater is that you can really sense and feel the electricity of the performers and the MCs and everybody working together and having fun and doing it for the kids. And it's just so much fun to be there in person and fill those seats up, because the more that are in the theater, the more lively and electricity it starts, and it's amazing. But if you're not able to come down, you can absolutely sit in the comfort of your own home and watch it live on Channel 4. And if you don't have cable anymore, then you can watch it on the internet on the YouTube channel. So there's multiple ways that you can watch it. You can even watch it, live on your phone when you're out at the coffee shop, because it'll be on YouTube. So there you go. There's no excuse for not watching it this year and participating. Follow it on Twitter. Follow it on our social media, Facebook, the Child Development. And what's the best part? The silent auction is live now.
Yes.
You can start bidding on silent auction items now. Did you know that? Isn't that cool?
I'm going to
Yeah.
go and look at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
It's so
Today
neat.
it's up.
And I just want to reiterate what Mary Ruth has said and what I'm saying and we're all saying, which is bring your bodies down to the theater, the live ones. Bring them down. Bring your family down. Sit in the live theater. There's no cost to come and be a part of a participant. You're in our community theater, supporting our community. It's that feeling of being there. So come on down.
And some of the acts,
Plan to do it.
world class, and you would pay huge bucks to be seeing them in concert.
No kidding.
But that day, it's free. You just come on in.
Everyone's
and it's
a
free,
volunteer that
and
day.
you can totally donate whatever you have in your pocket and just enjoy the show and enjoy the kibitzing and the fun and the frivolity, and it's
Maybe
a
bid on a
great.
silent auction.
Oh, and
item or-
the silent auction items, some of them are amazing. Amazing. And we have raffle tickets too.
We have
we
raffle
do.
tickets you can buy.
Oh
You'll
my
see us
gosh, your
around
basket's
town
amazing.
with
Oh my goodness.
the raffle basket with over $3,000 worth of goods and services, WestJet tickets. Yeah, we'll have a bike draw at the telethon.
Oh, that's always a big
door
draw.
prizes.
That's really fun. And the WestJet tickets, anywhere WestJet flies in the world, 2 tickets round trip. So I just want to thank these ladies for joining me in conversation. Gail Bates, longtime MC at the telethon, coming up on 41st telethon, right?
41st telethon.
41st telethon, 42nd year of services. Joanne Schroeder, Executive Director of the Child Development Association. April Statz, the head of the Autism Program. Ladies, thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining
Mary
me.
Ruth.
Thanks
It
for
was
having
good.
us here.
Great to
You're
be
very
here.
welcome.
See you at the telethon. Come on.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you at the next In Conversation.